welcome to this Introduction to Python Programming online course. I'm your instructor. My name is Haichuan Lin. I'm not a teacher. I'm a software engineer with about 20 years industrial experience in the US. Early in my career, I did some business applications for Praxair. I worked for Cornell University, did some weather and agriculture research for a year. I worked for Siemens on medical devices. Currently, I work on the medical lab automation system for Becton Dickinson, which is another big medical technology company. Now, what is Python? Python has nothing to do with this reptile. It's a programming language. If you're interested, you can Google the name, the origin of the name. But to me, it just sounds better. Python is a high-level general-purpose programming language. We say it's general purpose is because Python is not designed just for solving a particular set of problems. You can use Python to solve a whole range of problems. It's object-oriented. This feature is much like many other languages such as C++, Java, and C#. We will learn the concept of object-oriented. It's a very high-level programming language, meaning the program you write in Python is very close to the natural language, the language we speak every day. It's interpreted basically means the Python program doesn't need to be compiled before we run it. Don't worry about all these terminologies here. We will learn gradually. Now, why Python? Well, we choose Python for high school students because it's simple. Compared to other languages, it's relatively easy to learn. It's also free. It has many library supports. It's versatile, like I said. Python is a general programming language. It can do many things, from scientific computing to program on robots. What you need? Obviously, you need to have a personal computer. It's better be Windows 10 operating system. You need to download Python 3.7. You can download from python.org. But keep in mind, the language itself evolves. So the time you go to the python.org, the latest version may not be 3.7. Maybe it's 3.8 already. So you just need to download the latest version. You also need a IDE. IDE is an integrated development environment. Basically, IDE is another software that helps you develop Python program. For our course, we pick Pycharm as our IDE. You can go to jetbrains.com to download Pycharm. You also need some high school mathematics, because in this course, I'll try to combine the programming tasks with some concepts you learned from your mathematics teachers or physics. We probably can do some simulations from what you learned in kinematics, for example. You also need paper and pencils. This is because whenever we try to solve a problem by writing computer program, first, we may have to think about the problem and think about the solutions on a paper before we actually jump into the computer, write our first line of code. Here are a few web resources or links you may find useful. Python.org. This is pretty much for developers. And also, there's one called learnpython.org. There are several tutorials available from that link. You can find by yourself. The third link, stackoverflow.com, is an interesting one because a lot of professional engineers, developers constantly go to this website looking for answers. The fourth one, W3 schools, actually may be more suitable for beginners. There will be a 3.7 documentation installed along with Python 3.7 installation. So this is a very comprehensive manual. This can also be our offline reference because it's installed on your hard drive. Now, this is my tentative course outline. First, we're going to cover the fundamentals about this language, starting from how to use Pycharm IDE, then learn a bit about how to do the simple tasks using Python interactive environment. We call it console. We can use it for some very simple arithmetics, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, etc. Then we'll move on more computer science related concepts, such as what are types, variables, then what are strings. After that, we can use that to build some functions and learn some of the concepts of the functions. Then we move on to more advanced concepts like decision-making, loops. In this course, we are not only just focusing on the programming fundamentals. I would also like to introduce some first-year college data structure algorithm concepts. Although we may not have time to introduce all of that, but the algorithms are more interesting, such as finding the maximum number from a list, how to sort a sequence of numbers, and maybe doing some optimization. And these are all the key of the algorithms. We will explore some of that, although probably not our focus here. Classes is the more advanced concept. We will have to cover some of that in order to build more interesting software. So these are the fundamentals I have in mind. We will have to learn first before we can build some more interesting software, which I think will be packaged in projects format. The project will be much more complicated. You will have to spend more time by yourself. I mean, for the fundamental exercises, each probably will take just half an hour at most. But for a project, for example, if I give you a puzzle to solve, Sudoku puzzle, you may have to spend many hours to figure out every details. Although I will give you the algorithm, the pseudocode for you to start with, but still you need to spend a lot of time there. Don't worry, once you have all the fundamentals learned, doing projects will reinforce what you have learned in the fundamentals, and they will be much more interesting and fun. Okay, here are the instructions for install Python. The installation is not difficult. Here is the instruction for installing Python. The installation is actually pretty straightforward, but this is the first step. If you do not install that properly, it may cause trouble of using it later on. So I will give as detailed instruction as possible here. So you go to python.org/downloads, and you find the latest Python release. Like I said, the Python releases every few months. So I have 3.7.4. So when you go there, you may find another release which is newer than this. So don't be afraid, just download the latest version. So once you download the latest installation file, it's typically named python-the version number and .exe. You run it, this is the first window pops up. Make sure you check at Python 3.7 to path. And also you want to select Customize. In the next pop-up window, you select all optional features. In the advanced options, be sure select Install for all users. Once you select Install for all users, the customized install location will change to say /program file /python37. This will make sure everyone will have access to this on your computer, regardless whether your computer is just used by yourself. Then you proceed. It may take some time to finish the whole installation. So this progress bar will show how much has been installed. Just be patient, wait until it completes. Once it completes the installation, you need to make sure disable path length limit. And then you just click close. Now you actually have already installed that Python. One place to make sure it installed correctly is go to the Windows 10 Start menu. You will find a list of Python related stuff recently added. Make sure you have this. After we install Python, the next step for us is to install Pycharm integrated IDE, integrated development environment. Again, go to this JetBrains.com Pycharm download web page. And make sure you select Community Edition to download because that's free. The next page, choose install location. Here we can just accept the default location. In the next installation options page, select all the options. Accept this, choose Start Menu folder as is, and then click Start. The installing may take some time, just wait for it to complete. Once it completes, reboot. So after JetBrains Pycharm installed, you can go to Windows Start menu, find there should be an entry called JetBrains Pycharm Community Edition. So if you say this is there, you install that properly. And next, you want to make an icon on the taskbar. Basically, you go to this Start menu, JetBrains Pycharm Community Edition, choose More, and then click Pin to Taskbar. That way, you can just launch Pycharm directly from the taskbar without going to the Start menu every time. So once you launch Pycharm program, you should see this window. This is the window you say Pycharm runs first time. If you see this pops up on your computer, I think you're good for the first lesson. And next lesson, we will talk about how to use Pycharm to write some simple Python scripts.